Hey everyone, I hope you've all been well since last I covered this controversy. There's been a lot of big news today. So I believe it was yesterday or the day before where Rekieta Law announced that Vic was going to take legal action due to his firing. For those of you who don't know, Rekieta Law is a YouTube channel that focuses on covering the legal aspects of controversies online, and he made a video before basically saying that Vic, if these allegations against Vic were false or if they were planned and coordinated like they seem to be, then he could definitely take legal action. And I believe Rekieta Law reached out to Vic, and Vic confirmed with him that yes, I am going to be taking legal action. So today a GoFundMe has been put up to try to help Vic with the legal expenses, because everyone knows that lawsuits are very, very pricey. So the idea is you can support him by donating some money to help him in this legal process. And right when it was announced that Vic would be taking legal action, Monica actually made a statement online where she finally said her experience with Vic and what happened, and she made a bunch of tweets recently after being quiet for a short while. So let's go over what she said. So we have the tweet here where she goes over what exactly happened to her. It's 3 pictures of paragraphs upon paragraphs. These last 3 weeks have been some of the hardest of my lifetime. Please understand that we are all hurting no matter what you choose to believe. Please be kind. So let's go over what exactly happened. First, please know I've tried to address his behavior with him. I'm the kind of friend that will tell you when you have food in your teeth, and I was tired of people talking about him behind his back. How would he change if he didn't know his behavior was wrong? Each time he would apologize and then be back at it within weeks. So the main question I would have here is back at what? What were they saying about him? Was this the fact that he was too touchy with some people? He hugged people too much, or he was like a little bit too childish? There are a bunch of different claims at him about what he was doing that was wrong. Studios slowly began to stop working with him, not just because of sexual harassment, but he was difficult to work with. Even though he had a huge fan following, directors began to look elsewhere. Whenever he saw me, he would take a fistful of my hair, pull my head back. That sounds kind of painful, don't you think? And either whisper so closely to my ear that his lips were touching, or kiss my cheek, neck. Okay. So, a similar thing that the other girl said happened to her, only this sounds a lot more aggressive the way that Monica is describing it. This was usually done in front of fans or colleagues, so I had to be careful about how I reacted. Okay, so the idea is that he would do it as a joke? I mean, it seems pretty bizarre for someone who actually is coming on to you to do it in front of other people. I didn't even realize how inappropriate it was because he did it to so many people. Okay, so it sounds like a running gag that he would do, and you say that you didn't realize how inappropriate it was, so I guess you didn't tell him not to do that anymore. I've witnessed it happen just as others have witnessed it happen to me, colleagues and fans. In the mid-2000s, we were at a convention together, and he grabbed me and kissed me in his hotel room. I froze. You may wonder why I didn't yell or scream or push him away. I was scared. Why? Because I was raped as a teenager, and I learned that sometimes fighting back makes it worse. Why did I go to his room? Because he asked me to watch a video, and I trusted him because he was my friend. Not only that, but he was dating my friend Michelle, and I had been flirting with my soon-to-be boyfriend at the convention all weekend. So now things get a little bit dicey. So this is supposed to be the big claim that she was making. So he invited her up to his hotel room to watch a movie, and supposedly he kissed her in the hotel room, and she didn't, based on what she said, she didn't say anything to him then either. She just kind of let it happen. I don't know if she's trying to imply that he raped her, because she mentions she was raped as a teenager and learned that fighting back makes it worse. What exactly happened afterward would be my next question, like he kissed you and then he tried to rape you, or he did rape you and you let him do it, or he kissed you and then he stopped and walked away. Because it's a little bit unclear, because she just ends the story there. So what happened afterwards? Is that it? He just kissed you? And during this time he was dating Michelle, so you didn't tell Michelle about it? You didn't tell Michelle that her boyfriend kissed you and tried to like come on to you? Now it's getting, now it's getting a little bit dicey. I have a million more questions to ask, but unfortunately it doesn't sound like Monica Rial likes it when people ask questions. So we'll continue. After that experience, I distanced myself from him, and unfortunately Michelle as well. I felt incredibly guilty, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. Well, you didn't tell your friend that her boyfriend kissed you. That's very important information to tell your friend. Assuming it did happen, I mean, I'm taking this word for word right now. So maybe it was just me, maybe it was a one-time thing, never to be repeated again. You can imagine my devastation when I learned that I wasn't the only one. This was happening to colleagues, and worse yet, convention attendees. So it sounds like, okay, now it's getting even more dicey, because it sounds like you're agreeing with the Anime News Network article, which was, for the most part, already proven to be fake. All of the pictures and messages that were being passed around were taken at the press events and premiere for the Broly movie in mid-December. About 2 weeks after that, 3 of my close friends came forward. When these friends shared their stories with me, I was heartbroken. How could this happen to 3 of my close friends without me ever knowing? As more people came forward, I began to see the similarities. I chose to share my testimony with investigators solely because it cooperated with the others' testimony. I didn't start this. I have nothing to gain from it. I didn't steal anyone's roles or titles. The stuff you're hearing on YouTube is all lies attempting to create drama and get subs or views. I'm perfectly content being just a voice actor. The investigators were incredibly thorough. Each person was interviewed, the evidence weighed, and a decision made. And to think they did it all in just 1 week. They must have been working really, really hard. I mean, interviewing 25 women in 1 week, that's incredible. Each company has to look out for the safety of their employees. In this instance, these companies felt they made the best decision to protect their employees and contract workers. Also, these companies aren't obligated to share any information with you. Many of the women who've come forward have chosen to remain anonymous, especially after seeing the way I've been attacked. Please respect their privacy. Well, they can still share information with the public without sharing personal information. You can just say that the women are anonymous. You can name them as anonymous. Anonymous woman claimed this, this, and that. We found this, this, and that evidence. That's how it's usually done when these types of allegations go out. So it's a little bit strange that it's not being done that way in this instance. So that's why people are asking for the evidence. Like, where is it? Usually they come out with the evidence. We're not asking for anyone's phone numbers or anyone's names. We don't really care about that. I didn't want to come forward on Twitter, but I felt like I had to do something. Well, you were doing something. You said that you were working with investigators, but you decided to come out on Twitter also. My friends' lives, children, and careers were being threatened. Also, I knew if I didn't, there was a very good chance that it would just get swept under the rug again. I apologize for lashing out and threatening fans. I don't want to have to take people to court or send law enforcement after them, but I was doing what I felt necessary to protect myself at the time. There is a watch list, and I have names and numbers of multiple harassers. Jeez. But I'm willing to forgive you if you'll stop the madness now. Oh, thank goodness. She's willing to forgive you guys. Just a short reminder that the type of tweets that she was claiming were harassment. Show us proof, please. You ruined the man's life. She sent out a lot of these. You may feel that me and my colleagues have been harsh. But let me ask you this. How would you respond if your life was being threatened? If your loved ones, your friends, your children were being threatened? And, she goes on to say all this treatment she's been getting from Twitter. I have always stood up for this community. I have loved the anime fandom from the moment I went to my first convention. I've never said anything hurtful towards Vic or any of his fans. I don't want to ruin his life. He was and is my friend. I don't want him to be labeled a predator for life. I want him to get help and realize that his actions have hurt many people, including me. If he takes the necessary steps to better himself, then perhaps I would be willing to forgive him again. Once again, this is getting really dicey. And it comes out right when it's announced that Vic might be taking legal action. Now she's like, oh, I'm not trying to say anything hurtful towards Vic. I don't want to ruin his life. I don't want him to be labeled a predator. I would be willing to forgive him if he just betters himself. But before this, she seems to be very clear that she does want to get him fired. She doesn't want to press charges against Vic. She just wants to get him fired. And, she says, he's a sick man and he needs help. I mean, even if she didn't mean for it to sound that way, it definitely sounds like you wanted to throw this guy under the bus. Like, fuck this guy, he should be fired, I want him out of your life, he shouldn't be able to be around us anymore. And now in this statement you're like, oh, but he's my friend. I don't want to ruin his life. I don't want him to be labeled a predator. He's my friend. It's just, I'm so confused by this statement, and I can't ask questions, otherwise, according to her, that's harassment. She mentioned in this statement that she had spoken to Vic before about this behavior, and he apologized, but the idea is that he kept doing it. But the two times that she mentioned, she said that she didn't say anything to him. I can go back. She only mentioned two times, whenever, like the fistful of her hair in front of the people, which was, I guess, a running gag, and the one time in the mid-2000s where he kissed her, and while he was dating Michelle, and she didn't say anything then, because before she said she didn't realize how inappropriate it was, and after she said that she distanced herself from him. When exactly did you address his behavior with him, or when did you at least try to address his behavior with him? Because you mentioned two times here, and you basically say that you didn't say anything to him. You didn't get with him and be like, hey, dude, you can't do that. I don't like it when you do that. You make me uncomfortable. So when exactly did this happen? Because if I'm taking this statement at face value, and you genuinely don't want to ruin the guy's life, and you think that maybe he's just a little bit neurotic and maybe a little bit ignorant, maybe a little bit scummy if he's cheating on his girlfriend, you don't really mention the implications of him cheating on his girlfriend and what kind of person that would make him. Instead, you're like, oh yeah, I'm still his friend, I didn't tell Michelle about that, but you know. And then you're wondering why you felt bad. If you didn't want to ruin his life, if you didn't want to get him fired in the first place, the best thing you could have done is taken all your gals, all these different gals who are coming out with these allegations in the workplace, and be like, hey, why don't we just get together and talk to him and make it very clear that neither of us want him to do any of that weird running gag that he always does where he takes our hair and whispers in our ear. Let's make it very clear to him that we don't want him to do it anymore, and let's also say, hey, if you do it again, I'm gonna tell Funimation on you. If you don't want to ruin his life, be very direct with him, set a boundary, set a big fat line with all of you, so that he knows that it's all of you who feel this way, and say, hey, if you do this, we're going to punish you by telling Funimation on you. It's usually the best way to do it, rather than hitting him with it right out of the blue. It seems like only after this article came out did you guys also come out to say, yeah, let's get him. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are very, very skeptical of the allegations that you came out with, because it seems a little bit too coordinated that it would come out right when this Anime News Network article comes out. And then, after the Anime News Network article came out, it turned out that a lot of those pictures did not actually belong to the people who it said that they belonged to. It turns out people were taking pictures that weren't even theirs. People were making up a bunch of claims that didn't actually happen. And if you've seen my video where I look back on the older allegations of Vic and all the different rumors that were spreading online and on forums, you'll see that a lot of those other allegations were also kind of faked, and you can tell that people were trying to get him fired from his job from way, way, way back. They were trying to get him fired from his job due to the whole not signing the yaoi art. I don't know if these new ones are real. That's not for me to say. But back then, it was a lot of faked allegations and rumors going around to try to get him fired. And Vic hasn't really confirmed on his own Twitter that this lawsuit is coming. I'm assuming that he has to stay quiet. The last thing that he posted on his Twitter was that he doesn't want anyone to contact, Monica or all the other people that have been coming out with allegations against him, and that he just wants everyone to stay positive and, hold their breath. And he told all the other colleagues, hey, I never meant to hurt any of you, and I'm very sorry if I made some of you feel uncomfortable or overstepped my boundaries. And I feel like it's because of this idea that everyone is still friends. He was and is my friend. And Vic obviously still sees it the same way. He's like, hey, they're my friends. So I'm assuming that's the main reason why he wasn't really motivated to go to a legal standpoint, because I can only imagine how hard it is to sue someone who you've seen as a friend for so many years, and now they get you fired from your job, and you're like, are we still friends? I don't know. It's really a complicated situation you have going on here. But Monica kind of spoke up about the lawsuit that Vic has coming towards them, and she says, I have a legal team and I'm ready to go to court if necessary. So are 25 other ladies. We're not scared because we're telling the truth. So she's listing the number 25. I guess she's pretty confident in that number. I don't know if really all 25 of them are going to show up to court. A lot of people get a little bit skittish whenever they hear that the law is involved. So I personally wouldn't list a number if I was her, because if 25 people don't show up to court now you're going to just look like a jackass, Here is the fundraiser for Vic. It was set up by Nick Rekieta, who, like I said before, has the Rekieta Law. And just to make it clear to everyone who's watching, Vic is not personally asking for donations. This was just set up by Nick to try to help him out the best that he can, because, legal fees are quite pricey, as they tend to be. And he predicted that it might cost around $100,000 to actually cover most of it. But even that is just like a base number, because all that just piles up on and on the longer that the case lasts. And we got one update here. I just got authorization from Vic to state that any access fees will be donated to, quote, one of the Salvation Army Dallas domestic violence and abuse shelters in Dallas County, Texas. So there you go. If we, I guess the idea is if he doesn't use the entire 100,000, or if you go over 100,000, anything that will be donated over that will be going to a charity against domestic violence and abuse. So if you want to donate to his GoFundMe, I'll leave a link in the description. But before I end the video, I do want to say that if people are telling the truth, I don't want Vic to win. If he actually abused people, if he actually did some really scummy things in his workplace, then obviously I want the other team to win. Like I said before, I'm not a big Mignogna fan. That's not why I hopped on to this story. I hopped on to this story because it seemed super shady. Everything about it was just very shady. There were people making up lies. There was this whole article put together, and I read the article, and it sounded ridiculous. That they were saying he sexually harassed them for posing for photos? It's not how sexual harassment works, and then everyone else just kind of jumped on board after that article went viral. Everyone else is just like, oh, he harassed me too. Oh, he harassed me too. And I kind of have to question, was that the standard we're going by now? Posing for photos, just touching someone is sexual harassment now? A lot of this, I think, probably could have been solved with just a decent amount of communication within your workplace. But it sounds like you decided to go a different route, and now you're kind of facing the consequences of that. And for any of you out there who keep on contacting Monica and actually harassing, don't do that. Stop it. You shouldn't be contacting Monica in the first place. It's not like you're gonna squeeze information out of her and get something really juicy. Oh man, she's gonna reply to me, it's gonna be... No. So far, what she's been doing on Twitter has been mostly hurting her case. A lot. So just stay away from her on Twitter. Just back off. And not just Monica, everyone else too. Back off. And let the courts take care of it. That's all I got to say in the end. Just let the court take care of it. Now, I don't want to be the one to say whether or not Vic is innocent or guilty, but I will say that I personally would not seek legal action if I was guilty of the crime. So we're just going to end the video here. If you want to support Vic's lawsuit, the link will be below. Feel free to leave a comment below what you think about this whole controversy. Well, no matter what happens, I hope it all works out for the best. So thank you guys for watching, following the story. I'm probably not the best person following the story because I make a bunch of different videos every week, but I wanted to put in my 2 cents the best that I can. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Program restart.